I would just like to address that yes, I am wearing my pajamas for this shoot. However, I thought since it was Valentine's Day, this was the most appropriate because of course, hearts everywhere. All right, first question. The best date I've ever been on was with Bobby, my husband, which is a good thing. It was probably about 15 years ago. We went down to Calgary for an event at the Calgary Zoo called Zoo Gala, and you got all this fancy food and champagne, and you got to just hang out with the animals, and it was a dream come true.
My favorite date of all time was probably our second date because we actually got to sit beside each other, which was nice. And I remember after the concert, which was Alabama at the Coliseum, my mom drove us there because I still didn't have a license. But I remember as we left the concert, we held hands until we saw my mom pulling up, and then we of course didn't hold hands. But anyway, that's probably my favorite date of all time.
Probably gonna be a little less cool than Chris's. I took my wife to go see George Strait, or Jax. I flew in the mountains in a helicopter for free. Probably was with my current wife. We met online, no big deal. And then we went for a drink at the Old Elephant and Castle. Sat down, had a couple of pints, got to know each other. Went well. And then she said goodbye. I said goodbye. It was a good day. She did pick another guy over me because she was kind of playing the field at the time. But I'm like a slow burn. I infect you and I spread everywhere. So she ended up with me in the long run. So win for Matt.
Okay, I could go with my first date with my girlfriend Sid right now, but I'm gonna fast forward to her first birthday. We had tickets to see Thomas Rhett, and I got her meet and greet passes, so she was really pumped about that. That was a really fun concert. What chafed me though was that I had met Thomas Rhett within the year at Big Valley Jamboree. He didn't remember me. How do you forget this ugly mug?
The worst date I've ever been on, this still is the worst memory. We were sitting down to dinner and he mentioned something about barbecue sauce and what we were gonna do later, and it was awful, and it definitely didn't happen.
What's the worst date you've ever been on? I don't know if there's been a bad date, but if I brought Karen here, she probably would confirm there must be some kind of a bad thing that's happened. Karen, was there any bad dates we had? No, she says all good. I think she's lying through her teeth, but anyway, she just asked what a date was.
But I would say the worst date I've ever went on, I was reading this guy's advice and he's like, don't sit right across from her. Sit next to the person you're with. That way you can initiate physical contact, which is important when you're dating. Sounds super creepy now that I think about it. Anyways, went to Julio's. She was there before me, so I sat down and I sat beside her. She was like right here for like an hour and a half during our date. Clearly she didn't call me back, and like in hindsight, that was a terrible move.
I don't think I've really been on too many bad dates. I don't want to sound like a cop-out. I once took out a girl and we went to the movies and she fell asleep on me and she had a really bad sleep face. Like, it was like drool coming down, she was snoring, and it wasn't great.
Is it awful? I don't remember my first date. However, I'm pretty sure it was probably cliche. We probably went to the movies. I do remember one of my first dates with Bobby, and I feel so bad for him still to this day. So we went for dinner and he paid for the bill and he left, I think it was like $40 or $50 cash for a tip. But for some reason he forgot about that, and so when he went to go pay the bill, he also paid an extra $50 tip, and he didn't realize until he was walking out. But he was too proud to go back and say, excuse me, I tipped you twice and quite a bit. So we just ate it. Well, he did.
My very first date was actually the Jubilee Auditorium, and I went with my now wife, and I think we were 15 years old, had no driver's license, so my cousins Mark and Russell drove us to see the Judds and the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. And here's the fun part about the date. We actually didn't have seats together because the show was so sought after. We actually sat ahead of each other. I think she sat in front of me, and we didn't actually sit beside each other, believe it or not.
First ever date was a doozy. It was with a girl named Michelle in grade 7. She brought her friend Sheila with her. I brought my friend Andy. You need that backup. It was at a movie. We went and saw possibly the worst movie a junior high couple could go see. It was Bowfinger with Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin. Trash movie. Didn't work out. Did not work out. One and only date. I think she called me the next day to break up with me.
Elementary school dance. I had bought a girl a bracelet, which broke at that said dance, I believe, and we slow danced to Apple Bottom Jeans, which is a great tune.
My first kiss. I wish it was such a good Instagram story or movie worthy, but it wasn't. It was in grade 10 and it was with a guy named Kevin Milo, and we were literally dating, and in the hallway, he kissed me goodbye. He said bye, and then he kissed me, and I thought, oh my gosh, that was just my first kiss. Brutal.
Your very first kiss, how old were you? Okay, I know I was 16. I took Karen, my now wife, to the Little Shop of Horrors movie. And you know what? It was so bad. I think we finally just got bored. And I leaned in, she leaned in, and honestly, we just clonked teeth, just clonk. It was brutal. It was terrible. I think that I've learned to be a better kisser since then, but the first one, not good at all.
First kiss. It was grade 8. All the cool kids. I got invited somehow. I don't know how, because I wasn't one of the cool kids. Had a party. There was like 4 dudes and 4 girls. Now everybody was dating except for me and this one other girl, Kelly. We were playing spin the bottle, which was pointless because I could only kiss Kelly. So I spun the bottle, eventually got her, and we swapped some spit, and that was that. And then took me a while to get my second kiss, but we're not going to talk about that.
I was a player, I guess you could say. I was in grade 2. Her name was Emily, and I would rather not answer how good it was because I don't really remember.
I suck at this. Of course, I'm going to say the River Valley. Getting outside is nice, walking is nice. My favorite place is Chianti's. They have a great pasta deal and really big bottles of wine for cheap. And probably the third date would be at home, watching Netflix on our projector with pasta and cheap wine. I'm seeing a theme.
Top 3 date ideas in the Edmonton area. I think if I was young, you know, and you wanted to impress somebody, I would take them to the Corn Maze. I think that would be a fun date, a first date to go to the Edmonton Corn Maze. Not in the winter, of course, but when it's open in the summer or the fall, I think that would be a kind of a cool place to go. I think a no-brainer for a date, for me anyway, would be an Edmonton Oiler game or an Edmonton Football Club game, because of course you could kind of watch the sporting event and have something kind of to do and to talk about so you weren't so nervous. And third, I think the best place for a date would be any Chinese buffet. I think that is the best place to take your date. Karen, do you think so? She says no. I think a Chinese buffet is the place to go.
Top 3 dates in Edmonton. I've only been in Edmonton for less than a year, and it's been COVID the whole time, so I'm not exactly sure. So let's take what I know. You could go for a socially distanced walk with your masks on. You could hold a pool noodle, and then she holds the other pool noodle, so it feels like you're holding hands. I think that would be lovely. Or you have 8 masks on, and then you can kiss. I think that is a possibility.